All right, it is my pleasure to welcome Jeannie Zusy to talk about her new book, The Frederick Sisters Are Living the Dream. It's a funny and moving novel about family, about caregiving, resilience, and also there's a dog. Always a good feature. The book's just out this week, and it's getting lots of buzz and great reviews. Publishers Weekly wrote, Zusy explores in her powerful debut the complicated dynamics of sisterhood and disability. This admirable story offers an excellent view into the struggles of family caregiving. And Real Simple just named it a top 10 book for October. Jeannie also wrote an essay for Today.com about her love of jumping on the trampoline, which I found very enjoyable, and perhaps she will talk about that a little bit tonight. In addition to novel writing, she's written many full-length plays, some screenplays, and several stories. And Jeannie will be in conversation with Julie Langsdorf. Julie's short stories and essays have appeared in Poets and Writers, LitHub, and Electric Literature, among other publications. And her debut novel, White Elephant, which is terrific, was named an editor's choice by the New York Times and a book not to miss by USA Today, a highly anticipated debut by the LA Times, and a Best New Book by Southern Living magazine, and also a Real Simple Best Book of 2019. Please help me welcome Jeannie and Julie.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
I am so excited to be here with Jeannie tonight because Jeannie and I have known each other since we were 2 years old and lived down the street from each other. So this is, talk about living the dream. This is one of those moments that I just couldn't be more excited for. We're going to start with Jeannie reading a little from her new book.
All right. Hi, thanks for coming, everyone. It's called The Frederick Sisters Are Living the Dream. So I'm literally starting at the very beginning of the book. I'm just going to read a scene and then we'll talk. Part 1. Can you hear me? No. Okay. I felt like it was blocking my face, so I moved it. I don't know. That's a good idea. Thank you. Up a little bit. Let's see if that's okay. Awesome. Part 1. Ginny's Castle. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. We're going against Ginny's wishes. We're going against our big sister Betts's wishes. And, for the record, we're going against my wishes, too. Here we are, Ginny and me, going east on the Beltway toward I-95. I'm taking her away from her small house in the small town where we all grew up in Maryland, and I'm bringing her to be near me in my small town north of New York City. I'm driving her SUV, she's in the passenger seat, and on her lap sits her baby doll, Binky Baby. Behind me, on the back seat and facing Ginny, is her beloved old pup, Rascal. Those two have been looking into each other's eyes since we left rehab for the stars. I call it that because of all the rehabilitation centers on the hospital's list, it was the highest rated. In the trunk is my small bag, 3 larger Ginny bags, her TV, Rascal's bed, and on top of all of that, Ginny's brand new wheelchair. It'll be like summer camp, I said to her last week. You always wanted to go away to summer camp. Now you finally get to go. It's April, but I've been trying to present that it's a temporary and might even be fun. Not over my dead body will I go to New York, said she, her usual flat delivery. It was a difficult conversation, and ultimately I heard myself say, well, whether you want to or not, your not dead body is going to New York. That's right. She's not dead. If you had asked me 4 weeks ago if she was going to die, I would have said sadly and definitely yes. If you had asked me 4 weeks and 1 day ago if she was going to die, I would have said no way. Ginny just retired from her high school janitor job and she's easing into a long and relaxing retirement. How do I know it was 4 weeks ago? Because 4 weeks ago was the official high school full team support meeting for my younger son, Leo, and tomorrow is the 1-month follow-up full team support meeting. The guy struggles academically. Yes, that's 4 weeks of trying to manage this Ginny mess long distance. 4 weeks of juggling and turning down freelance jobs. 4 weeks of diminishing income. Gin, I said, it's going to be great. Rascal and her cousins will finally get to meet. You can come to our house for barbecues. The boys are so excited you're coming, and my friends will finally get to meet the legend. They think you're my imaginary friend, you know. I don't have many friends right now, not since the separation. Really, I just have the one friend, and that's Teresa next door. Everyone else dumped me because they assumed I dumped Bill. Tomorrow night marks 1 year since the last time I had sex. Oops, it wasn't with Bill. But I swear I didn't dump him. And Teresa is going to perform some sort of ceremony involving her new fire pit to honor this, to honor my future not lonely libido or something. I can bring Rascal to visit you, and we can go on drives, and maybe, well, you know our town has a little watering hole. Maybe we can go swimming together. When was the last time you went swimming, Ginny? Wouldn't that be fun, like in the olden days when we used to go to the pool together, and the beach with Mom and Dad and Bets, and of course Malibu? Ginny isn't listening. She turns herself away from Rascal to face front. Not easy for a gal of her size. She's not talking to me. She's ignoring me. Click, click. I glance over to see that she's playing with the door lock. Click, click. My sister, Ginny. She's a large, purple-clad woman with badly bleached blonde hair. Right now it's clean and combed thanks to the rehab. Her t-shirt has sparkles and says, "Life's a beach." Her fanny pack is pink and sparkly. Her pink boots are sparkly too. Her face usually wears something that might be mistaken for a scowl, though it's really just concentrating. Right now, I imagine she's considering her escape plan. She's got intellectual disabilities. She reads and writes at a 3rd grade level. Sometimes she says her brain takes the day off. She's got type 2 diabetes and a lust for sugar, which is a dangerous combination and ongoing challenge. Still, she's managed to live independently for almost 20 years in a small house that our parents bought for her just 5 minutes from their own. Our dad died 5 years ago. Our mom followed a year later, and since then, Ginny has continued to manage and even take care of Rascal. Rascal is an old, fat, rectangular block of a dog with short sticks for legs. She's black and thick, and even her fur feels fat, oily fat. She is Ginny's best friend, mother, child, and bodyguard. Seriously, she has an aggressive streak. And now I'm recalling the phone conversation we had 4 weeks and 1 day ago. Just one of our daily check-ins in which she told me she was living the dream, riding the waves. I asked her if she was still taking her pills, walking Rascal. She told me she was an independent woman and to stop being a worrywart. Well, East Coast girls are hip, I really dig those styles they wear. We're listening to the Beach Boys because they are Ginny's favorite, and I wanted to put her in a sister road trip summer of Beachy Boys kind of mood. She's already asked me to turn the volume up twice and we only just hit the road. She's into surf culture, even though she's only been on a board once, and she almost drowned on that occasion. Our biggest sister Betsy, now Bets, turned her on to it. Bets just launched Moon Boards, her very own brand of boards, and runs a surfing school in Venice Beach, California. I wish they all could be California girls. And I, Maggie, live in a small Hudson River town, just an hour north of New York City. I'm a freshly separated from her husband woman, still living in the house where we raised our sons. I raised our sons. Graham is in college now, but Leo is still there with me, which is why I get to keep the house. I make a living drawing storyboards for TV commercials. These days it's mostly pharmaceuticals, power drinks. I am bringing Ginny to Sunnyside Nursing Home and Rehabilitation Center, which is in Ossining, just 15 minutes south of my house. She'll be there until they get that fucking open wound to heal, until she can walk again, until she gets her mojo back. By then, I'll have had a ramp installed at her place, and she and Rascal will be able to go back home. Sunnyside, I say cheerfully. Isn't that a nice name? I checked out 4 places, and it was the nicest. Plus, you get your own room. They're gooey. What is? What's gooey, Ginny? Sunny side up. Well, if you flip them over and stick a knife in the yolk, it spreads and it's not gooey. I know that because Graham hates his eggs gooey. Click, click, click. I'm going to California very soon, Ginny says. Oh, yeah? I say. Bets says. Huh, I say. Bets hadn't mentioned this plan to me. We haven't spoken since last week when I told her that against her advice, I was bringing Ginny up north. Now Bets is not returning my texts. Just let the girl go home, she laughed. Let life do what life does. You mean death? I thought. I tried to explain to her what poor shape Jin is in. She can't walk, I said, which means she can't drive, can't live independently. If you could just fly out, you'd see. Really wish I could. Got a lot going on, our older sister said to me. But hey, she said, and not unkindly, you do you. Huh?
It's a wonderful beginning to a book that it's funny and sad. It can be heartbreakingly sad, but it's really a story about family and warmth and love. And why don't you talk about the inspiration for it?
Okay. It's inspired by my relationship with my brother Davy, who I loved dearly, and he inspired me in many ways. And the 3-year adventure that we had when my family decided for his well-being that we would move him from his house in Kensington, Maryland to upstate New York, or an hour north of New York City. So it was a really intense, fulfilling and challenging experience. And so it's I fictionalized it. It's about sisters, obviously. It's not a play for play, and the Frederick sisters are not the Zusy sisters. But yeah, so that was just, I felt like it was something really important to write about, because I spoke to a lot of people during this period that were experiencing something similar, caring for a loved one, which comes with so many challenges and rewards. And I didn't really know of any books written about that. And I felt that book should be written. And that's what inspired this book.
And you've done there aren't many books with intellectually disabled.
Well, that too, yeah. Both things. Caring for a loved one,
right,
which is huge. And then intellectually disabled characters, I also felt like they were lacking in literature. And in fact, I've been researching that since before I wrote the book, but I just wrote an essay about that because I found like 6 books. There was A Sound in the Fury, and then Of Mice and Men, Flowers for Algernon, and Julie's book, which has an ensemble cast, had Terrence with intellectual disabilities.
Right, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. So I really wanted to write a character that has those challenges.
When you were caring for Davy, did you think you would write a book? Or Jeannie is also a playwright and screenplay writer and writes songs and dances. Did you think you would do like a fireworks display about Daisy or a synchronized swimming act? Or how did you come up on a novel?
Well, now I'm thinking we should do a modern dance.
I think that
maybe tonight.
That's next at 8:30. Ready for the modern dance.
I did, because you know what, and I know you know this, like when you're an artist, you kind of always are living on 2 different planes. So you're living your life and you're also kind of thinking about art. And I've written about Davy in different forms, actually. I actually wrote a whole musical. I wrote the book and the lyrics, and Richard Caliban wrote the music, and made it to a certain point. So yeah, I kind of was sort of taking notes. I mean, and I knew it would happen. I knew that I would write something, and I knew that it wasn't going to last forever. As much as we wanted to try to save Davy's life, and we really were a team, myself and my siblings and my husband, and it was short and sweet. Yeah.
And it wasn't always easy.
No.
maybe you want to read another section of your book.
Oh, good
Okay.
segue.
How about that?
Okay, yes. So, so this next part, after Ginny has been living in this nursing home, where they finally healed her wound, but she hasn't learned to walk again, and she hates it there. She's miserable. She wants to go home, but Maggie doesn't see any way that could happen, for many reasons. But so, and on this day, in the section I'm about to read, Ginny just threatened that she would kill herself if she had to stay at Sunnyside Nursing Home for the rest of her life. So they put her on suicide watch. So Maggie is now home after visiting her, after this just happened, and she's processing this information and where they're at. I had such high hopes. I had such vision. I believed that I could brighten up Ginny's dark life. I believed that I could open up her small world. I saw her losing weight and rocking her PT and really getting her mojo back. Actually getting mojo she never had before. What is mojo? I don't know, but I know it's something good, and it's something I wished for both of us. Did I say both of us? Well, yes, it's true. I envisioned that we'd be known as those crazy two. We'd make a name for ourselves as the Frederick sisters. People at the local coffee shop and ice cream shop and all along our little main street would see us and they'd say, "Look who's coming." I envisioned that I would give my sister a makeover, keeping her individual style, her sparkly purple and pink palette, her surfing vibe, while shining up her unique individual essence. I could give a makeover worthy of any queer eye. She would learn to comb her hair and would do it several times a day. Or she would let me do it, or one of the Sunnyside staff. We'd all say, "Ginny, what lovely locks you have." I envisioned that in the process, I too would become more fully myself, a sexy, styling, middle-aged babe with maximum appeal and minimal makeup. People would see me for who I truly am, a loving, devoted, patient to the point of saint-like woman. "Oh," I'd say modestly, "but saints are so boring." And they'd laugh and say, "You, Maggie, are a fascinating saint." They would realize that I am not the cold-hearted bitch that cheated on her husband, who kind of kicked him out of the house, who atom-bombed her family of 4. Ginny and I would both start dating. I'd get her involved in a social group for adults with special needs. I'd meet a brother of one of those adults, and he would fulfill my special needs. We'd go on double dates. We'd drive down Main Street in his convertible, laughing and singing, "I wish they all could be Croton-on-Hudson girls." The boys would really like him, my new guy. They'd suddenly understand where their own father was lacking. Not as a father, but and not as a father and a human being. He was still be a role model for them. But they'll see where he lacked for me. Bill would be supportive, likely humbled by my new matching, and this would inspire him to grow up, though not so much that I have regrets. Ginny and her boyfriend and me and my boyfriend would probably take a double-date trip to Disney World where we'd write "It's a Small World" 10 consecutive times because it would still be Ginny's favorite. Well, that's not going to happen, I can hear Ginny say. When I visit her tomorrow, I will listen to her complaints. I will tell her I'm sorry for the situation. I will try to imagine if she could live there the rest of her life. I will try to imagine if I could live with myself if she lived there the rest of her life. She will be angry. She will be belligerent and pale and childish. I will tell her that I love her, and she will not tell me that she loves me back. That's okay. She never does. She can't. I will love her even more because of that.
There are flawed characters in this book, and I think they aren't always likable. And I wanted to talk about that. There's always this idea that characters have to be likable to be stuck with, and I think that you showed that that's not true. And I just wanted to talk about some of the choices you made.
Okay. So, who's not likable to you?
Well, they're actually very likable, but sometimes make choices. Well, not all of them are always likable. Sometimes they make choices that perhaps aren't the wisest
That's for
choices.
sure. That's for sure. Yes, indeed. Yes, they're human. That's the thing.
Human.
They're human characters. Yeah, no, I wanted it to be real. I want it to be real, and so yeah, and I'm hoping the reader will go along for the ride. So I actually, as you can see, I write the book is written in the first person. I didn't want to be in the past tense, and I didn't want it to be Maggie looking back on her life and the lessons she learned. I want it to be happening in real time, so that we see how she fucks up. That people screw up, and she misbehaves sometimes, and sometimes she does things that she regrets. And we witness other characters doing things. They're not always on their best behavior, but I do think everyone's well-intended, and I think everyone's really trying to do their best within their means. Yeah.
Just to go back to the form for a moment, you have written all these different kinds of forms. Talk about writing it as a novel and what the advantages and disadvantages you found writing a novel as opposed to a screenplay or other. What do you?
Okay. I really enjoyed writing it as a novel, and I felt it was very clear to me, actually, when I did finally sit down, that it was a novel, because I had, a play is an hour and a half, around that, and I felt like there's a lot more here than I want to say. I guess the biggest difference is, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, but a difference is, like in a play or a screenplay, lots between the lines, So, whereas in a novel, you need to go in deeper and explain and illustrate and show what's happening inside the characters' hearts and souls and thought processes. So, like for example, some things, like I worked on rewrites with my agent before selling it to my publishing house, and then with my editor, obviously did a few rewrites as well. And the notes were always they always felt very supportive and organic. And it was often like, so what's going on here? What's she thinking here? And I would be thinking, oh, I thought that was really clear, But like, because in a play, if you have the actors and the director and a whole rehearsal process, so you bring things out, in over a period of time in rehearsals. But so in a book, you just write that, like what is really going on here in the moment. Did that answer?
It does.
Yeah, okay.
That answers my question. Let's go back to the Ginny character who was inspired by Davy and the disabled sibling. And I just want to talk about that. I also have a disabled brother, so we have a lot of parallels in our lives. And I wanted to ask what you thought that having a disabled sibling, how that affected you in your life, and if that affected you as a writer.
Good question. Well, I think it teaches compassion. I think as children, actually I think it was my sister Susie who was in the front row. I have a very distinct memory of you like telling me when I was young, like sort of explaining how intellectual disabilities work. Yeah, I have that memory. Because there's this period, I was younger than Davy, 5 years younger, and we played together because the older siblings were all kind of growing up and moving out eventually, and Davy was still home with me. When I was in high school, Davy was still home with me. So I feel like I lost my train of thought there.
You felt like having a brother like that made you more compassionate.
Yes, more compassionate, patient. Yeah, observing his pain, like, and his struggles.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a scene in the book that is a very painful scene, and I remember the scene that inspired, or what inspired it, and it's
okay.
also one of the saddest memories in my life. So yeah, there's some sad things about when you have a sibling that has trouble. And I think in my case, my brother was younger than me. For you, you were the younger one, and then you outgrew him.
That's right.
And I think that
was
must
a very
be a
significant
whole,
moment, like
Yeah.
realizing that I was outgrowing him.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, and he stayed with my parents, our
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then eventually they bought him this little house, and he felt independent. So that's like a big theme in the book, is the importance of wanting to have your own, to be independent, and have your own autonomy. And that was very important to him, and my parents honored that. And you know, that was so when he wasn't able to live independently, that was hard, really hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He also, I think, in your entire family, he was very beloved. He wasn't always
Very
the
much
easiest
so.
person, but he was very beloved.
Oh yeah, we adored Davy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure, and we all miss him very much.
Yeah. You're a very good sister. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we should lighten things up. Why don't you read another scene?
Which scene? Is
Well,
that,
I think
Julie?
you know which scene.
Okay, so we're gonna. This is a lighter scene. You need to know that eventually Ginny does get her own house. Maggie buys Ginny a small house in her town, 5 minutes from Maggie's house. And she has 24/7 care. 24/7, yeah, two live-in aides. One's there during the week, one's during the weekends. And, you know, they've actually come to a period when there's some peace, and Ginny is starting to, it's a struggle, but she's starting to accept her new life. But they thought they had her health more in control after she left the nursing home. She's also worked her way into Amazon and figured out how to order deliveries of candy. So she's pumping up her blood sugar again, and therefore getting sick again. And so the caregivers have been telling Maggie that she needs to, they think Ginny's sick. So Maggie makes a deal, because Ginny's like a high-powered lawyer. She has to negotiate, you know, but Ginny agrees that she will allow Maggie to take her to the doctor if Maggie takes Ginny's phone to the Apple store, because her phone is slow as molasses, actually. So this is the Apple store. Let's find it. Okay. Ah, the Apple store. How could a place be so shiny and clean and welcoming with all that is going on in the world? A place devoid of problems, illness, conflict, dirt, or dust. The girl who greets me as I enter the store is so lovely that I want to adopt her. Perhaps I can connect with her later on Facebook, and then connect with one of my sons on Insta or TikTok or whatever. How old is she? And why is she here in the middle of the day on a Monday? Must be a high school graduate taking a gap year. A girl who did not have everything handed to her and values working for $1. A girl who is so tech savvy that she's perhaps skipping college altogether to work her way from the bottom up to a managing position and then on to start her own shiny and clean conglomerate. Yes, I say. Of course I'm happy to wait here. I'm happy to sit on this tall stool at this tall table with this tall, warm latte in hand. Then a young man comes around. Ginny, he says. That's me, I say. Well, I'm her sister, Maggie. I told him that when I made the appointment. You need to see some ID? No, that's okay. We're good, he says. I'm Mohammed, and I'm helping you today. He wears a green turban, a gold nose ring. His eyebrows are thick and well coiffed. He does not have an accent, though I imagine his parents do. I imagine I would like them very much. I pull a Ziploc bag out of my shoulder bag and say, "Oops, sorry, I meant to clean this before I got here. Do you have any wipes?" Of course he does, right there in his back pocket, and he gives the shiny pink thing a professional shine. "Sorry," I say. My sister uses her phone with sticky hands. Syrup, mostly. She puts syrup on everything, and mayonnaise. "No worries," he says. This guy's very zen. "So what's going on with your phone, Ginny?" "Maggie," I correct. Like I said, it's my sister's. She says it's slow, takes the weekends off. She's a character. Let me take a look at your settings. I've looked at her settings. I think sometimes she forgets to charge it or she overcharges it. I don't know. Figured it was time to call in the professionals. He just starts doing things, bringing new settings and screens up. Finally he says, "Looks like a lot of open pages, number one. Number two, a whole lot of videos." "Videos? But if they're on Prime, they don't actually go on her phone, right?" "Check it out," he says. He demonstrates how to open up pages and click them close one at a time. I know how to do this. I'm not an idiot, though I suppose I'm kind of an idiot for not doing the thing to do with Ginny's phone before schlepping here. Yep, Disney World's website. Next, another realtor in Southern California. Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. The Beach Boys tour dates. A big wet dick. Wait, what? I grabbed the phone. "Sorry, I don't know what that was." "I've seen it all," he says. "This is my sister's phone," I say. Who knows what clickbait she hit? I continue to flip open pages to discover a dating site for adults who like to play. Another one for quick tricks. Some guys in cummerbunds and nothing else. This is really weird, I say. "So why don't you just delete those pages and I'll be right back," Mohammed says. My handsome helper fellow leaves me looking at one male porn site after another with Amazon delivers thrown in. Hot chocolate, a site for strictly for black guys. Extra large feminine diapers for Ginny. Firemen for hire. 1-800-Flowers. Oh, that was sweet when Ginny sent me flowers for Valentine's Day. But wait, how far back do these go? Another site called Clickbait, offering self-fulfillment at your own discretion. Holy shit. I didn't even know she had it in her. Does she still masturbate? Can she still... Another huge dick. And then the notion of my sister's hands on this phone makes me suddenly drop it. It lands hard on the floor. "Don't worry about it. That's a good cover," Mohammed says as he picks it up. "This is so crazy," I say. I had no idea. Mohammed is very nonchalant about the whole thing. This must be part of their training. Do not judge the customer or her sister. He asked me if I had closed the open pages, and I explain I've scrolled through and there look to be hundreds more. He demonstrates how to close every single page with 2 moves. "Good. That's good," I say. He then goes back to settings and pulls up the page that shows how much of the space is occupied by video. I'm starting to sweat. "Do you mind if I nod. "Go for it, Mohammed," I say. "Let's have a good time here, shall we? I'm trying to keep it light." "Oh, I see. It's this app," he says. He turns the phone to me again. "Meet me." Oh my God. How is it possible that my sister had the wherewithal to download that app, but can't get it together to go to the bathroom when she has to do number 2? And this one, hookups. Hookups, I say? Seriously? I didn't even know that existed. Everything you could imagine exists, and everything you imagine does not. Suddenly this guy is a philosopher. "We can delete the apps. That should pretty much solve the problem." "Yeah, of course." I click on hookups and it seems a video is trying to upload. Yep, it's slow. And then it starts. A hairy-chested guy talks to the camera. "Hi, Ginny, I'm Gary. You watch me and then I'll watch you." The guy pushes down his sweatpants to reveal. Holy shit, I say. Yes, delete it. Delete them both. Oh my God. Do these guys know where she lives? "Excuse me," he says, and he disappears to consult a colleague. They call over another, and as I reach the bottom of my latte, I look up to see them all looking at me. He returns. "If I delete them, they'll be gone," he says. "You'll have to download and pay for them again if you want them back." "I don't! She doesn't! This is my sister Ginny's phone. Trust me, I had no idea she was doing this stuff." "Okay," Mohammed says, calm and warm. These Budo techno guys and gals really know the art of playing it down. But couldn't he at least join me in my shock? Couldn't he make a joke for levity? My sister has special needs, I ejaculate. He smiles. I mean, she's a little... Okay, Mohammed says. Look, he demonstrates what to do. Wait a minute. Are there possibly videos of her on there? I have no idea how the apps work, Ginny, Mohammed says. And then he reboots her phone, and I reset her password. When I walk out of there, the apps and pages are deleted. I walk around the long tables to avoid making eye contact with my no longer future daughter-in-law. Every one of those open-faced employees is watching me. Dirty old lady, I hear them thinking. And Ginny, 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 I hear them chant. The name echoing off the bright ceilings and bouncing off the floors and the walls.
On that note, I'd like to open it up for questions. So bring it on.
Yes, please.
There's a microphone which will come around.
Hopefully you can hear me through my mask.
Yeah.
First of all, if you do an audio version of this book, you have to be the reader because the voices are fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm going to be imagining you while I read the book, starting tonight.
Aw.
But I really, really want to hear more about, I think that your experience with your brother and you writing about that experience through this book can help people, anybody who's taking care of an aging parent or a sibling who may have some kind of disability. And it's a service. And Julie did it as well in her book with Terrence. But why, for decades, centuries, we've had family members who have had disabilities and aging parents. Why is no one putting it into novels to help us understand that this is what happens?
That's a good question. Very good question, actually. That's what I was thinking the whole time I was living this dream. You know, I was thinking, this is such a rich, it's so rich. The material here is so rich, and but it's also very mundane. You know, it's very boring and tedious and depressing and hard, and so I think maybe that's why people didn't want to write about it. And as I wrote it, sometimes like, does anybody even want to read this? I mean, this is, you know, really hard stuff. But I felt like it's real stuff, and it's happening every day in families all over the world. And so I felt, I really did like, yeah, I mean, I was like ready to give up writing, honestly, but I thought I have one story I have to tell. And this is, I felt like I really just had to write this. I didn't know where it was going to go, of course, but yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Carrie. And by the way, it was made into an audiobook.
Oh.
I did not narrate it. It's narrated by Gabra Zachman, who's really wonderful, and in fact, she was named by Audible as one of their top 10 female narrators.
Wow.
And she's terrific, an amazing actress. I've seen her perform live in many Shakespeare plays, even, and she's done over 500 audiobooks. So I was really, really excited to learn that she was doing the audiobook. Yeah.
I don't know if I need a mic. Thank you for writing this book. I can't wait to start reading it.
Oh, thank you, Anne.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, I know Susie's reaction, but I was wondering about how your other brother and your other sisters reacted to the book when you wrote it and what they think of it.
Well, I can't speak for them, but they told me that they love it. So it was just a huge relief, of course, you know. But yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not a bad guy in the book. I mean, they're not perfect, and they make mistakes, but I love all the characters. And so I wrote the characters with affection. And it's not really, I mean, it's not like literal, like the siblings aren't my siblings. And, you know, Ginny is not Davy, you know. So I think I took enough creative license with it that, I don't know, maybe Susie should speak to that. Do you want to come up and talk?
And then Mike over.
No? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I just, yes, we all adored Davy as much as he was regularly a pain in the ass. We all just would have done anything. We did anything for him. So it's a little hard for me to read it because of all of the, that it was just so real. But I feel, I think my sister Jeannie's a great writer, and it is a story that you have created a story from the experience. It's not what happened. It's inspired by, and I totally appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, and it was a team. We were all a team.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you, Sue.
I was curious about the statement that she could not say, "I love you."
Yeah, I think that's pretty much true. He's, okay, we talk about Ginny or Davy now. Well, I think a lot of people have that challenge, right? You don't have that special needs. But in the case of Ginny, let's just stick with the book. I think Ginny can show her love in other ways. Like Ginny just sent her flowers for Valentine's Day, But saying I love you is really hard for some people. And I think, Maggie understands that, or has come to understand that. Ginny also puts a lot of trust in Maggie, and that's another way of saying I love you. Like trusting, allowing her to care for her in that way.
What do you think Davy would have thought of the book?
I think Davy would have loved the cover. Because this dog, Rascal, not to be confused with Lacey, his real-life dog that looked exactly like this, he would have been like, Lacey's famous. That's what I think he would have been, right, Sue? Yeah, and Lacey had a whole interesting life, and that'll be my next book, Lacey's Life, told from her point of view.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of writing the book, especially with to kick things up? And I haven't tried to write a book like that, but I imagine it's a heck of a journey for you.
Yeah, for sure. The challenge of writing a book. Well, I guess probably the biggest challenge is trusting yourself, trusting myself. Like, it's so easy. There's so many times in the process, when I go, this is stupid, this is a bad idea, I should be writing murder mysteries or whatever, So it's just like leaving the critic. I think that really is my biggest thing. It was the critic goes outside, so I do a lot of messy writing. Like I just write and don't allow the critic in, I'll do a whole draft without really, Yeah, so I think that's the biggest challenge probably. Does that answer your question, or did you mean a different part of the process?
And also just the emotional, did it kick up emotional stuff?
The emotional stuff? Yeah.
Challenge while you're doing it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's intense. Yeah, it does bring up a lot of stuff. I don't know why I'm having trouble answering this question. I guess, yeah, it was in this exam for this book, specifically for this book, it was processing a lot of stuff that happened. And in some ways it was fun because a lot of ways it was fun because I was celebrating some memories and some personality traits that Ginny and my brother did have in common. So yeah, it certainly is emotional. And I just tried to keep it close to my heart and keep it as honest as I could. Yeah.
Last question, unfortunately.
Well, again, thank you very much, Jeannie.
Do you think the character of Ginny changed in the novel?
Oh, yeah.
And if so, how? Now that you look back on the finished product, do you feel you gave Ginny her full worth as a character?
I certainly hope so. I did my best. Yeah, she does change in the novel. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like spoil it for you, you know. But she definitely goes on a journey and grows. They both do. There's a third sister too, and they go through. They go through a lot together, and they're in a different place by the end of the book, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Jeannie, and thank you to all of you. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Julie.
Jeannie is going to plant herself right here. Go buy your books. Buy lots of them. Buy a stack and give them to all the people you love and know.
Instagram question. You have, I found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Does the book have its own hashtag, or how do you want me to post?
Oh, that's so kind of you. Yes, if you guys love the book, feel free to post away. The Frederick sisters are living the dream, and then you can tag me. Follow me on. I'm on all the things now. I didn't used to do social media, but now I do. But it's actually really fun, and I've gotten to know like a wonderful community of readers and writers, and people who care for their loved ones. It's really cool that way. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks. Thank you.
So once again, the books are behind the counter. Go pick one up. If we can, if you all wouldn't mind popping closed your chairs, that would be a huge help. And then if you line up right at that white wall, we'll get your book signed.
Thank you, honey.